All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here to close out our week this Friday morning. It's October 7th, shortly after 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Great to see all of our students and members alike inside the live trading room. Ray, Carol, Phil, Jim, Gene, Mario, Kathleen, John, great to see all of you. Great to see all of us back on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. Folks, it's actually been a pretty interesting morning here for a Friday. Normally Friday, Mondays, the outliers of the week. We don't tend to see as much news come out company-wise. We ended up seeing some news come out across the market, non-farm payrolls and unemployment numbers across September. So that led to a drop off within the market early on today. But we ended up seeing a couple of different stocks make some big moves. This Lucy stock just being one of them early on. Prior to 8 o'clock, it ended up making a big pop from 2 up to 350-ish. Well, pulled back down. And with that, we were anticipating support. I was looking for support initially off this purple line, 280. Once it broke right above there early, I was thinking, all right, well, where can we find a historical level? Well, 280, just looking briefly at the daily chart, looks like it's a relatively new IPO even. So, just over this series of days, 4 or 5 days in a row at least, just generally holding right over that 280 price. It broke under it. So with it actually smashing right above it here early this morning in pre-market, you'd anticipate initially for that to be support. Unfortunately, though, it didn't make the big bounce that we wanted. I ended up taking a small loss from here initially. It dropped down. I wanted this to break under and over from 250. It held above 250, but I didn't jump in from there. I did jump back in, though, as this broke back above 280. I got about 14 cents on this trade from that point. So decent pre-market so far on this Lucy. It's pushed up a little bit more since, but I didn't know if this would look to continue. It's a stock that personally I'm pretty unfamiliar with. I don't think that we've ever called the stock out off its run as a stock, as an IPO. But, now it's really beginning to make that pullback. Notice that my line here is not even at $3. It's at 305. 305, we saw about 25, 30,000 shares at a clip getting filled early right around here on the bid. So I was anticipating for that to be support once it broke it here prior to 8:30. Well, it didn't run higher. So, yeah, right now, this Lucy trade, just be on the lookout for. I feel like this may just dump right back down. But we'll put this on our main watch list at least here for the market open. All right, so let me jump to the SPY briefly here. I'll do that with just my chart so my platform doesn't crash on me right now. But early this morning, after 8 o'clock, we ended up seeing some big numbers come out. So let me just get that for you folks here. So unemployment rate for September, 3.5% is the rate. It was versus 3.7% expected. So that's kind of decent news at least. But non-farm payrolls were up compared to the estimates, 263,000 versus 250. Nonetheless, the reaction from the street was a big drop off here, led to a lower low prior to 9 o'clock. I wasn't necessarily anticipating that. If anything, I do think that we could see a nice bounce back up throughout the morning. If not the morning, then by the end of the day. So be on the lookout for that. I think that we could find some good discounts on some stocks, if not for a small term swing, but otherwise for a quick dead cat bounce as a day trade. Really quick with that. My Mara, I ended up getting out early this morning as far as one of my swing trades on this stock. I closed it out yesterday at 13.30, but I did re-enter off the 13 level. So I was looking for a nice squeeze up at that time. I averaged down at 12.92. That was from yesterday. And then from there, once the numbers came out this morning, I ended up closing out at 12.72. So it took a small loss there, but I am looking to get back in. I love Mara. I think that we're going to see a small bounce collectively in the market coming up. So with that, this could be a good stock to keep in mind on your side list. Same to be said for a bunch of different trades. I was going to jump to NEO there, but the Chinese EV stocks have all been really weak, actually. So I'm not going to say those as much. But an American Airlines off 12.50. Do a Royal Caribbean, that's a little spotty there. Maybe an NCLH perhaps, looking a little bit more active, more volume traded here in pre-market off 13. So, hey, there's opportunities out there. This could be a great day to follow sideless stocks. But otherwise, though, here for right now, Lucy, we're going to start by putting this on our watch list here. Now, before we officially go from top to bottom, there is one stock that I want to jump to because, hey, if you're joining us even on YouTube and Facebook Live, you see our pre-market watch list that we had posted prior to 8 o'clock. So the first stock on that list, NVIV, right? You take a look at that chart, say, what the hell happened since? I mean, we had posted that pre-market watch list. We try and push it out to all of our members inside the live trading room at 7:45, right around 7:40, 7:45 Eastern time, trying to do it a little bit earlier recently. it's hard to always judge because the news comes out at like 7:50 the second I put the list out. So I don't want to go too early. But right at 7:45 this morning, we posted the watch list. This was looking relatively strong at the time. Made a big pop at 7 o'clock, trended up beautifully up towards 13. And albeit it was dropping off here at the time, looking for a higher low, looking for support to build. And then out of freaking nowhere. I mean, it was dropping off prior to that, but big shake. So what happens on this NVIV, folks? Top percent gainer now going to top percent loser. The news, and I was thinking about this just once I saw the drop. Normally for these like cheap pharma stocks, biotherapeutic stocks, just small cap, low float BS. I mean, hey, we trade them, right? But we don't swing trade them. And it's even to say here, I mean, as much as you're hoping for a higher low and continuation, these small cap stocks, oftentimes after they make like a really big move, normally it's not this fast, though, I will say. And this is really nasty. But, for stocks that make like a big 80%, 100%, 200% pump in a day, the next day, the day after, the next week, you're going to see a common stock offering or direct offering of shares. So the second I saw this drop, that's what I had in mind just from experience. So I'm going to post the news here. NVIV shares trading lower now after the company announced a $9 million registered direct and private placement offering. So I don't know all the fine details of it, but anytime you see a big drop like that off a runner, that's oftentimes what the first guess should be, and that's what happened here, it seems, on the NVIV. All right, so hey, I mean, it's volatile. It's possible that this could rebound and make maybe like a 50-cent dollar bounce back up. It's possible. So I'll put it on our watch list for right now, but it'll probably be near the middle or near the bottom by the end of it all. All right. So with that, let's go from top to bottom now. There's a couple trades now that I think are beginning to make a nice pop. There we go. ADTX. I didn't see this on the gainers list before we started this meeting. So, with that, it's a stock that we're pretty familiar with from like a few weeks back, and I saw it up like 40 whatever percent of the time. I'm like, all right, well, that obviously made a move. So here ended up making a big pop from 320 up over $1, move up towards 430-ish, 440-ish. I don't have my book map open for this trade, folks, but I do have my Benzinga Pro open, so I'll report the news for you here one last time. Probably not one last time, but ADTX shares trading higher after the company announced I guess that the company is featured by FedEx in a video presentation. That's all I got for you there on that headline. That came out just right at 9:07 Eastern, so a little bit after the initial pop. But yeah, ADTX, either way, whatever the news is, it's looking pretty good. All right, cool. Let's see what else we got here for right now. The AMBC trade. This was popping early in pre-market, but the order book was so thin. So it is to say it was a gamble stock, but it did nothing, though. It just flattened out, didn't really offer anything. It's even shortable, I guess. But yeah, for right now, it's really flat. I'm going to put this on our side list. I would love to see it make a better move and, more importantly, for the order book to fill in. But for right now, maybe I'll come back to it at the end, maybe slip it on there at the end. Pretty expensive here, but DXCM up over $100 right now, making a big push up over 9% here. It's interesting. I mean, the daily chart looks pretty strong. It has looked pretty strong prior. Looks like it's approaching resistance here. Just looking at the monthly chart briefly here, back from 2020, 2021, roughly around 107, probably psychological level 110. So with that, that's something to follow if you're interested in the more expensive DXCM. Market dropped off, inverse ETFs up, SOXS, UVXY, I'm sure I'll run to in a moment. I actually scalped cold right before we started this meeting. We'll jump to that actually probably in a bit. I don't really see it here on the gainer side just yet. Probably not going to find a whole lot on the gainer side, right? Market dropping off. I did see DraftKings, so I didn't put DraftKings on the pre-market list. I wasn't expecting for that to be a great pre-market trade, but after the market opens, I was thinking it can make its better move. So with that, we're going to put this on our watch list for right now. I better finish up this meeting quick. I told you. I got to make sure they fix my electricity here. All right, so let's finish up the gainer side. We'll jump to the loser side here in just a moment. CS, it's not really doing a whole lot right now. Let's hop over to the loser side here. Not a whole lot that is easy to borrow right now. Maps, it's a cheapie. Unless if it's really volatile, I'm not going to be as particular about it. Not even on the loser side do we see too much. Now, there is something here, and that's the reason why I put Intel on the pre-market watch list. So there was some news that came out with Intel, but it was also based off sympathy in relation to AMD's bad earnings. AMD got clipped yesterday with bad earnings. I think they lowered outlook as well, but nonetheless, I guess they're making a small little bounce here. AMD would be a good stock to follow, at least, though, in terms of volume, liquidity. We know this stock has a really good order book after the market opens. Not right now, obviously, but after the open, this will fill in a lot. So I will put AMD, an old favorite of mine, on the watch list. Intel, I'm going to keep on our watch list for right now, who's on the pre-market one. So Intel in relation to the AMD trade, but I think there's also some news that came out with Intel here, right? I think something in relation to the U.S. government basically having more restrictions likely next week. They're going to announce it, I think. So some report where next week that the U.S. is going to announce some restrictions to selling U.S. product to China in relation specifically to specific advanced computer-based chips. So Intel being one of the main ones with that here in the U.S., I would anticipate for them to get hurt. So that was my speculation with putting Intel on the pre-market list. We're going to keep them on our morning watch list. All right, so folks, let me know if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5%. Probably down, if anything, but let me know. Here's an old friend of ours, LAC. It's just looking a little spotty right now, down over 5%. It is shortable, but for right now, I'm going to pass on this trade. Maybe after the open, we call it out. All right. Just checking my scanners here. Otherwise, folks, I think we may have gone through them all. We'll check out some side list stocks, like I'd said at the end, NEO, LI, those EVs that are dropping off. So with the market dropping off today, off those numbers, perhaps NEO and LI can continue their drops. Let me flip this back to a daily. You could see NEO the last 2 weeks that this thing has been getting hit once it broke back under 20. Just all the Chinese EV stocks show weakness right now. They have for a long time. The Li trade, just a beautiful downtrend on the daily chart, but just from yesterday got hit hard. So that's a good stock to keep on your side list here. Don't get me wrong. Huge volume spike here too, just prior to 8 o'clock. So let me see what that's all about. That could be a duplicate from the closing bell print from yesterday, but otherwise we'll take a quick look. Right at 8 o'clock, 2046.5, 2046, 2047, a 670,000 share print that was filled. So that is different compared to the closing bell print from yesterday. So that is a huge level for this Li trade. You don't tend to see that too often in pre-market. So you know what? In particular, Li, I'm going to put on the watch list here. Mike was saying this week's MOTS down pretty big. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the percent gainers are going to make the percent losers list, so we're not going to follow them. All right, let's check out a few more here at the end, folks. Obviously, with the market dropping, UVXY had popped up pretty nicely. It's only up 2.18%, but should we see continuation within the market dumping off here, then in that case, UVXY would be pretty interesting to follow, at least. Only if you have level 4, though. If you have Bookmap, then it makes it a hell of a lot easier to trade. If you don't have Bookmap, I would not suggest for you to trade an ETF. All right. Let's see. Anything else otherwise? Am I missing anything? I think the pot stocks we had on the pre-market watch list. So, if the markets can make a bounce, then perhaps we could see continuation based off of yesterday's news. Yesterday's news, I ended up seeing afterwards. I, dipped out after 3:30. I ended up coming back afterwards, and Rich was texting me and saying, "Hey, you see what happened at the close?" I'm like, no. So the pot stocks basically had popped up because I think Biden is basically going to what's even the right word? Pardon anyone that was locked up just for simple possession. So that's nice to hear. Whatever your stance is on pot nowadays, I think that's just at least good news all around, right? But nonetheless, that led to a big pop across all of the different pot stocks: Tilray, ACB, CGC. For right now, Tilray, we're going to put on our watch list here. It definitely is the most volatile of those three. ACB, I think, was the strongest, at least after 8 o'clock initially. So now it's dumped off a little bit more. It's actually break even on the morning compared to yesterday's close. I'll put Tilray on our main watch list here, folks. But if they all pop, perhaps you can catch some action here on ACB or CGC, the others. But TLRY is definitely the most active. We'll keep this one on our list. All right. Oh, yeah, that's right, Chuck, saying cold. That's right. I scalped cold early this morning. Thankfully, I did get out. I just wanted to take some money and run. So I ended up jumping in off the VWAP, and I'd called it out at the time, popped above it, pulled back, little push up. I wanted more, but it started to shake around a bit, and I ended up getting out right off of 1691, even just a few cents. A little cushion money, though. Better to have a little cushion money than to not have it. And with that, I'm happy I got out. This thing just tanked. So, maybe after the open, Chuck, maybe after the open, we'll keep it on our side list. It's always a good one to consider day to day. Lucy, I think we started off with, right? Popping back up and over 305 here. That's interesting, though. So perhaps if it holds here now, it could finally make that run up higher. That being said, you don't want to hold a stock going into the open. You don't want to jump into trades normally, at 905, 910 afterwards. So if this does pop up without me personally, I'll wait till after the market opens up to see if there's any support from that point, and then the run higher, hopefully. So, we'll see if that happens. But for right now, for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, I appreciate you folks sticking with me each and every day, throughout the entire week, throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon. So I believe Fausto should be back for all of you folks and for all of us inside the live trading room. I don't want to get your hopes up, but I believe he should be back on Monday. If you have any questions, feel more than free to send a question through email over to josh@c2trading.com. Quick question is, am I going to get my lights fixed? Hopefully by Monday I do. But with all of that in mind, though, folks, for all of us inside the live trading room, Skip, Chuck, Michael, Phil, John, Kathleen, Mario, Henry, I look forward to talking to you folks coming up here at the opening bell. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9.